Let's go. Forfeit never, forfeit never, forfeit never, never forfeit. Forfeit never, forfeit never, forfeit never, never forfeit. Forfeit never, forfeit never, forfeit never, never forfeit.
What's up? This is Josh, the other half of Urban Ops. And so I'm gonna answer a few questions just so you can get to know me a little better. Let's make it happen. All right, well, I'm of Mexican descent, and so my birth certificate says Josue Saucedo. That is my name. I have no middle name. But in school, my teachers could not say my name. I'm not even gonna tell you because I'm gonna give you ammunition to try to bag on me. And so, no, man. So anyways, I went, brothers, and they just started calling me Josh, which Joshua is English for Josue. So I'm Josh, man. I was born in Bellflower Hospital and lived in Huntington Park for like 7 years. And then older brother started getting into trouble. And so my dad was like, and moved us to Palmdale. And I've been out here since, man. I grew up the youngest of 5 brothers, so I got beat up a lot, and I didn't have to worry about bullies in school, but at the same time, my bullies, I had to meet them when I got home, which were my older brothers. My brothers are bad and terrible. Cut that out, don't use that. So growing up, I was the youngest of 5, and so I got bullied or beat up a lot by my brothers. Didn't have to worry about bullies because my brothers would either scare them off, or I was so used to getting beat up that I wasn't scared of anybody anymore, so I'd step up to my bullies. My brothers made me put on the gloves, and I always had a box like my friends or the kids from church. Also, my older brothers loved hip hop, and they were into like break dancing and pop blocking and whatnot. And so I remember just a little kid that had like a little ghetto blaster, and I'm like trying to never got the moves down, but I was introduced to hip hop through my brothers. And so that's where I fell in love with the culture, fell in love with the music. I used to buy like 2 albums every week, man. I was going like every Tuesday. I was going and buying 2 albums, no matter what. And most of it was just underground hip hop. So I fell in love with that. I also grew up, though, with a mom who was a believer in Christ and a strong believer in Christ. And so she was a pillar in the church, and she was always very active in the church. She's always been. And I remember even her going to women's retreats, and she was like the speaker. And so I'd go with her as a little kid. And so my mom made a huge impact in my life and influenced me a lot. And my dad's a hard worker, responsible. And that's pretty much how I grew up, man. I love both my parents. My parents are awesome. I would say that conversion for me, like true conversion, I always believed in God, and I always had this desire to know God. And I would say though, teenage years, I started to just be like, you know what, like this church thing isn't for me. I want to do my own thing. I just started, I wouldn't say I was like a crazy bad kid. I don't have no like crazy stories, but I did dabble in some things just to try to have fun. And so I really just stopped going to church. I stopped looking for the things of God. And in that time, I remember my brother Hector came to faith. He's the other member of Urban Ops, and so he came to faith my freshman year. This dude who at one time was like, getting high and then taking me to football practice my freshman year. Later on that same year, he gets saved, and then he's trying to preach to me now. And I just remember being like, nah, man, just let me do my thing, man. But the Lord used not only my mom to plant the seed, but used my brother big time. I didn't come to faith, I would say, till I was 19, like after high school. And it wasn't until I actually went to Vigilia, my brother was preaching, and it was like this, basically a lock-in for youth and young adults. And so he did this altar call, and I just went up to the front, and I remember just being broken and weeping, and I couldn't stop weeping, and I just had this desire to just, I need to be forgiven of my sin, and I need to find redemption in Christ, and I want to just give my life to God. I don't know what's next, but I want to give my life to God. And so I was 19 years old. I would say that He delivered me from the bondage of sin. I've been forgiven of my sins, and that is something amazing and awesome. I don't have like this crazy, testimony of like, yeah, man, I drive-by shooter, nothing like that. I did dabble in some stuff. I had some friends who they're like snorting lines, some coke lines, ditching school. And I'm looking at them, but I'm like, I don't want to be like someone else I know that's jacked up. You know what I mean? And so I watched them and be like, I'm not going to do that. I never got like too crazy and far out there. And but I would say that there's things that come into faith that the Lord cut off my life. And there's other things that, I'm a sinner saved by grace, and God is still working on me. 3 misconceptions, I guess, off the top, just thinking. One of the misconceptions is that when you become a believer, when you become a Christian, and I don't know how much of a misconception it is now, but one of them is that all of a sudden you're just going to be, your life's going to get better, like you're going to be perfect. And that's not the case. Like, we're still living in this world. This world is broken. We're broken people. We're sinners saved by grace. And so there's still things that we're going to deal with. And maybe because of our faith, we might deal with things even more so. Another misconception is that believing in Christ is as if it was some type of wishful thinking. And that's not the case. Faith is trusting in God. But, it's not a matter of, look at how big my faith is, but it's a matter of where am I placing my faith on. And so I can have all this faith in the world, but if I place it on thin ice, my faith means nothing. That's the second misconception. Off the top, man, I don't know what other misconception I can come up with being a believer. So, what made me get into ministry is really I just saw my desire to reach other people, to help other people, to help within my community church. Urban Ops, how it started was I wasn't even at the first meeting. It was my brother Hector, my friend Carlos Gonzalez, and other friend Nelson Martinez, and the 3 of them met. And so their desire in forming Urban Ops, and Nelson Martinez, he came up with the name Urban Ops, which means urban operatives, which are special agents. And so what we wanted to do is reach neglected youth in the church and outside of the church. We would sell t-shirts, we'd rap, and then with the money we'd get from love offerings or whatnot, we would use that money to create concerts and create venues where we could reach out to the unchurched, and at the same time we could encourage those that were already believers. And so that's how Urban Ops started. Once again, this is Josh from Urban Ops. Thank you for listening to my story. If you can, share this video and subscribe to our channel. Peace and grace.